I just finished my 9th hair transplant textbook coming out with Quality Medical Publishing this July. This book, the reason I'm so passionate about these textbooks and all the money that I do, that I make on these, all the profits go to charity to stop human trafficking. So it's not driven by profit motive, but the real impetus right now is what's going on in the world, where there are really improper, unethical, horrible transplants going on. A great example recently is I just got back from San Diego. I talked to a friend of mine who said, hey, this person just went to Turkey, had this transplant. He's so excited. He posted all over Facebook how wonderful it is, how excited about he is about the results, how life-changing it was. And he said, what do you think about the results? So he opened up his phone, showed me the photos, and I almost vomited in my mouth. The reason for this is that the hairline was way too straight, way too round, way too low, way too wide, and it looks like a bad hairpiece from the 1970s. It was going all the way across here, and so a basic rule is that it can't violate the lateral canthus. In other words, your hairline's got to end here. Beyond that is the temporal point. So here's a guy that's super excited about his results, but it was ridiculous. And I think most people would look at that and say it's absolutely ridiculous. I'll tell you another story. About 2 years ago, I was on a cruise with my wife and my parents. I was with a guy that had a pretty expensive hairpiece that I could see was a woven natural weave, but I could see it was placed asymmetrically. I could see that he had a weave actually being separated from his scalp. I could see that he had bad temporal transplants. I saw that he had scars in the back that were not well covered, that were not well done. A lot of problems. And so I asked my wife, I said, could you see any of these issues? And she says, no, it looks fine to me. And I asked my parents, could you see that all these things were occurring with his scalp? And they said, no, he looks fine. He looks totally normal. So that's an opposite example, which I don't think most of you would be able to read that these are problematic stuff with this guy who spent a lot of money on his hair system, who did, I guess, okay transplants for what maybe most people would think would be okay. The one that I talked about from the guy that went to Turkey looks ridiculous. I think all of you would be able to see that it looks crazy. And here's a guy that looks weird to me, but not to you. So I'll tell you one more story. I saw this guy on Facebook that had a really bad hair transplant, and I actually, one of my technicians who had been with me at the time for about maybe 10 years, I asked, can you see what's wrong with this transplant? And she said, I said, what do you think is wrong with this? She said, too big a chin implant? I go, no, he has a bad hairline. But it's funny because here's a person who's done work with me for 10 years and can't tell the hairline looks off. And he said, well, wait a second, are you hiring people that are not very smart? Are you hiring people that shouldn't be doing what they do? No, because I don't pay her to draw hairlines. I draw the hairlines. I don't pay her to microfinish hair. I pay her to be technically gifted at dissection and at placement. And she did a very good job at that. So that's a great example to understand that my standard is so much higher. So what the point of this video is that artistry and technical rules are absolutely what you pay me for. And I didn't even talk about safety, which is another whole video, but I'm just focused on artistic and scientific rules to make good results. And my standard, it should be above both of those examples I showed you, the abysmally poor, frightening one that I think all of you can read, and the one that I don't think my wife and my parents, who are very intelligent people that can spot fake things, their standard is already pretty high, but they can't even see when things are off. But that's what you pay me for, because I've been doing this for over 20 years. So artistry and science, art and science, are the two elements toward a beautiful hairline and also a beautiful hair restoration.